I am so excited to bring this tumbler to you. This is something that I have been working on and I absolutely love. I'm going to be showing you how I do my glitter melt. Now, I coined that term. I had not heard that term used before, and it basically means that I do a half wrap on my tumbler, and then I melt the glitter up into the pattern and just try to make it look seamless and beautiful and like it was supposed to be like that. This pattern vinyl that I'm using is called Blush Roses, and it is from AuntieTay. You can use code LQ10 to get 10% off of anything at shopauntitay.com. There's tons of pretty things like vinyl, bling, accessories, but anywho, I like to cut my vinyl so they come in 12 by 12 sheets, and I like to cut them in half. So I'll have 6 inches, and this way I can do two 20-ounce tumblers because I only apply it to about the top 3/4 of the tumbler, as you see right here. So I put a little tiny, teeny bit of overhang at the top of my tumbler, and this tumbler has been sanded and prepped, but it has not been painted. So we'll get to that part next. But so I line up my vinyl and I start pushing it down with my hands little by little. I'm using this really handy tumbler holder for vinyl by Chipped Builds on Etsy, and you can get 10% off of that too if you're interested. The discount code is BABES10. So we're going to be making sure that we are pushing down firmly on this vinyl, and we're going slow, and the backing is just going to naturally come off as we push it around this tumbler. Now, these 20-ounce straight AF mother tumblers are perfect for vinyl wrapping because there's no taper like regular skinnies. You can really just get a good vinyl wrap on these. So you're going to make sure that you're getting it nice and tight up around that edge. And once we start getting this thing wrapped all the way around, we're going to want to cut off our excess vinyl. And I'll be using an X-Acto blade just to shape up the top. And I'm not going to worry if this isn't 100% straight at the bottom because I'm going to be spray painting over that. But any little bubbles that you may have, you can take your X-Acto blade or a pin tool and just simply pop them and then use your nail to push out the air, and you won't see the bubbles at the end. So here I'm going to take my X-Acto blade and I'm going to cut down here and save this piece of vinyl because this vinyl is so pretty. Maybe we can use this for a keychain or something. Now, I'm not using a straight edge or anything. I am just going to eyeball it and cut this off. I seem to be pretty good at eyeballing things, but hopefully this works out. Let's see. Okay, so it's looking good. Now we're just going to peel off that excess vinyl and put it to the side and save it for another project. And then I will be going in and shaping up the top of the tumbler. So we want to trim off any excess and really take your fingers and push, and make sure that there are no air bubbles at that top seam there. So I'm going to be taking my X-Acto blade, and you're going to want to hold it at an angle and cut that excess away from the top. Now we're going to leave a tiny bit of an exposed rim, but with Crystalac's Brite Tone, it's a little bit different than epoxy where you don't have to have too much of the rim exposed. Just a tiny bit for the Crystalac to grab onto at the very, very, very top. Holding your X-Acto blade at an angle helps you cut and helps you get that nice, clean, smooth rim that we're looking for. Now I'm just going to speed it up here a little bit so that we can get through this because I feel like you get the idea of how to clean your rim. And if you missed a little spot, just go back in. Make sure that you're using a sharp X-Acto blade because when I was doing this here, I could have been done a lot sooner, but my blade wasn't that sharp. Now that we have our tumbler all nice and wrapped and I made sure that there weren't any bubbles, we're going to go in and we are going to use Candy Pink spray paint by Rustoleum. This is the 2-time spray and it happens to be a gloss, but that's okay. Usually I prefer to use a satin or a matte, but this color was just so pretty I had to use it. So I like to start at the bottom and I do short bursts with my spray paint to make sure that we're not going to get any drips. And I use these dowels from Home Depot. These really help when I spray paint. I love these. I use them every single time I spray paint, and then I just lean them up against my fence there so that they can dry. And you're just going to make sure that you're doing short bursts. You don't want it to drip and you don't want any lines in your spray paint. We are just ombreing this into the pattern vinyl, as you can see right here, so that it is not a straight line. It is nice and ombreed and beautiful. All right, so now we're going to go in with our Brite tone and I will be applying my glitter. When I use Brite tone for glittering a tumbler, I always go in with a thicker than normal coat of Brite tone. Okay, I want my glitter to be not streaky. I want to have full coverage, and I want to let this Brite tone self-level and make sure that I have enough product for it to self-level. So I use my pointer finger as kind of like a squeegee, and I'll do lines of Brite tone going up the tumbler, and I always work from the side. And usually I'll glitter on one tumbler and then switch them over so that I can do multiple tumblers at once. So we're gonna put our Brite tone on there. Make sure that your finger is not dragging. Make sure that your finger is gliding, and you'll be able to feel if you missed a spot. See, like right there, I just missed a little spot, so I went in and just put my finger on it, but don't rub it in too much. You don't want to over touch it and overwork it. You want to let it self-level and work itself out. So here I let it spin for a few rotations before I go in with my glitter to make sure that it's nice and level and see if I missed any areas. So here's where we're going to start on our glitter melt. So this first color that I'm going in with is called Barely Blush, and it is from Glitter Gifts and More off Etsy, and it's kind of like a translucent blush color. I just thought that this looked really pretty. It's a color that I've just had sitting around for a while, so I'm like, let's just add it on this tumbler. Now our whole focus is blending the glitter from the bottom and transitioning it into that patterned vinyl. So I'm using different kinds of glitter. So we have some opals, we have some metallics, and we have different cuts and sizes so that we're going to blend it up into the pattern vinyl and make it look so pretty. So that was just some more of that first color that I had, and you can see how I put it in different spots. And now we're going in with Golden Rose from the Glitter Heart Company, and you can see that there's barely any glitter falling onto my parchment paper below. That's because we are just gently tapping this glitter out and making sure that we are just using a sparing amount of glitter so that we can layer other glitters on top of it. So here is Rosewater. Rosewater is the chunky version of Golden Rose. And you can see that I am not dumping. I am tapping this out very slowly in that transition area. So I don't want this falling on top of the patterned area too much. I just want this lightly around the tumbler. Now, the next color that I'll be going in with is Stardust. And Stardust is a beautiful off-white. It literally, its name is Stardust and it looks just like Stardust. So I am taking this in between those areas of the Golden Rose so that it blends, and you can see what I'm doing here. It looks so pretty in between the Golden Rose and the Rosewater, and I picked these colors because they are in the patterned vinyl. So the whole purpose of the glitter melt is to pick colors that also are in the vinyl so that it looks like the glitter is just melting into that vinyl. Now, the next color that I'm using is a chunky rose gold. It's so beautiful. This one's called Rosebud, and I like to put it in my hand and then gently sprinkle it around because I want to use this very sparingly and also get a variety of colors in there. I don't want to overwhelm the tumbler with the chunky glitter. I want to just use a little bit of it. And you can see that the Rosebud and the Rosewater, they just give this some beautiful depth and dimension on top of the metallic glitters that we had underneath of there. So if I missed any spots, I will go back in with the colors that I've already used. This will also help get any of those like wet looking spots nice and covered with glitter, and so that the Brite tone will just soak up that glitter. So I'm going to keep doing this until I feel like it looks nice and blended. I'm going back in with that Barely Blush from Glitter Gifts and More and gently tapping it around. And this is kind of like a translucent glitter, so I'm making sure that I get it in that transition area between the glitter and the patterned vinyl. Now, don't forget about the bottom of your tumbler. Now, the Brite tone on the bottom of your tumbler could have dried a little bit. So I always like to take my finger and re-rub it around just to make sure that we're not going to have any missing areas of glitter. So at the very bottom, I'm going in with the Golden Rose and making sure that I get full coverage there on the bottom. See how nice and blended that looks? It is so pretty. And I love this turner from Amazon because you can easily take off the rod and put it back on the turner. So this, you can find that linked in my Amazon store. So I'm going back in with a little bit more of the Stardust. And then I'm going to be using, I think Hello Gorgeous is the opal that I chose. And I'm going to sprinkle that around the transition area. And I like to put it in my hand so that I'm using it sparingly and not dumping it over the tumbler, because the upper portion of our tumbler where the patterned vinyl is, we don't want a lot of glitter on there. We want our pretty vinyl to stand out because this vinyl is so pretty. So the opal is going on there, and if anything is sticking up, I am going to tap it down while our Brite tone is still wet. And you can see that everything on here is falling virtually flat, and that is what we want, and that is why I use a thicker than normal coat of Brite tone. Now I'm going to let this dry overnight because I used a thicker than normal coat. You really want it to dry really well, and this is not what your normal coats of Brite tone will look like. Okay, so now that that has dried, I am going to seal this baby up. Now, you don't necessarily have to seal with your glitter glue. You can just do a good dry brush like I'm about to do right here and go in with your first coats of Brite tone. But I really want to emphasize the fact that glitter glue will help you lessen your coats of Brite tone. Now, I've been doing these tumblers for a while, so a lot of the time I don't need to go in and seal because my glitter is very flat, as you can see here. So doing a good dry brush will help you get off that excess glitter so that you don't need to seal. But for this video, I'm just going to seal just so that you can see how I do it. Now, I like to start at the bottom and put my glitter around there. I take a damp Wet n Wild blush brush, and you can find these at Dollar Tree for $1. They're the best for applying glitter glue, and the Flippin' Awesome paints or just any paints. So then I'll work my way from the bottom around the rest of the tumbler. And you can see here how pretty this glitter looks and how blended it is, but I want to start going in circles around the tumbler and then going up towards the patterned vinyl area, because I don't necessarily want to drag any of the metallic glitter up, but the opal glitter, I don't mind if I bring that up because it's going to help with that glitter melt and just make that transition look very smooth and cohesive. Now, the dry time for glitter glue is 2 hours. So you can do 1 coat, you can do 2 coats. It totally depends on how your glitter is feeling. If your glitter is sitting nice and flat and you think that you're ready for your Brite tone, then you can totally go into Brite tone after this 2-hour dry time. Or just skip the glitter glue altogether and go into your Brite tone after you did a dry brush. So the dry time for the glitter glue, like I said, is 2 hours, and the dry time for Brite tone is 4 hours in between coats. So because this tumbler doesn't have any vinyl or anything, I can get away with doing probably about 8 coats of Brite tone over top of this glitter with one nice level sand on that glitter and in that transition area up to the patterned vinyl after 4 coats of Brite tone. I did not record me doing all of my coats of Brite tone just because I feel like it gets very repetitive, but you get the picture. We are going to apply our coats of Brite tone about every 4 hours. And look how pretty and shiny this ends up in the end. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry that I didn't record those other coats of Brite tone, but look how beautiful and shiny she is. I love the glitter melt, and I hope that you love the glitter melt as much as I do.